Hi everybody, welcome to my Hitting the Mark video number 3. Now today I want to talk about, I'll call it the topic of society versus man, or men, or society versus manhood. Either one's relevant. And what do I mean by that? In one sentence, society versus men is the rising anti-male or anti-masculine attitude that's developed. How that now men are generally looked down upon, and traits that are traditionally associated with men, such as strength or protectiveness or what have you, they seem to be no longer valued, or they're valued in a different light that it wasn't meant to be. Now, I start by simply saying that for my part, I'm a guy, I'm married, and I feel I'm protective of my wife, and as any guy should be. However, my innate desire to protect her also collides with the general attitude today towards that, the whole, leave her alone. She's a strong, independent woman. She don't need no man. Now, granted, some women really don't need that, or they choose not to do that, or not to live that life. But men, I am sure, again, for my part also, are hardwired to be protectors, and not just protectors, but protectors and providers. And that's another thing. There's nothing in any way wrong with, both men and women working, or a husband and a wife working at the same time. But traditionally, and indeed biblically, the man of the household was the primary provider, the primary breadwinner, as we call it today. And that's what I strive to be for my wife, for McKenna. And this is not a place of masculine pride or anything like that. This is a personal conviction based on my faith and my beliefs that I cling to, and I believe is important. I believe that is innate in men, or really should be, or it should be more widely practiced. And another thing I want to address here is that society's general expectations of men, I'm going to list 2, are really unrealistic. They're unrealistic, they're unfair, and I know I'm starting to get real passionate about this, but I am. That's because I feel like it needs to be said. 1, society says that men are supposed to have it all together. What do I mean by that? Well, being financially independent, capable of providing for himself and for his family, if that is indeed the case. Being independent of his parents, or whatever. Moving out of the house at a certain age, and just figuring life out, and being able to give that to the important person in their life. Also, and this is a pretty old belief in terms of manhood, that men are expected to be stoic. Now, I personally am pretty stoic in my personality, in my way of dealing with things. I'm pretty serious-minded, and anyone who knows me knows that that's true. However, as a whole, I feel like men are expected to be stoic, and as such, expected to not show emotions. Even if they feel emotions, they're expected to not show them, because showing emotion is considered a sign of weakness. I've always struggled with that, because I'm very sensitive by nature. I'm really I'm sensitive to criticism. And that sensitivity also comes into play in my relationship, in my marriage. I want to express sensitivity and be sensitive to my wife and express love with McKenna. And this belief or expectation that men should not do that, that's not realistic, because men are human beings too, and men and human beings are emotional creatures. Yes, humans can express rational thought. However, we also have emotions, and emotions are God-given. Now, I want to reference a passage in 1 Timothy, and I won't go on this for very long. And paraphrasing this is that being spiritually strong is more important than being or having worldly strength. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm sensitive, or have been sensitive, about being a really small man. And smallness is generally associated with weakness. And I felt weak and small for much of my life, and therefore I tried to build myself up, mostly physically. I could never do it emotionally. Even today, I'm a very emotional man. And I'm struggling to accept the notion that that is okay. And that's who I was made to be. That is who God made me to be. And yes, I said who God made me to be. And not only is it okay for me to, not only is that okay, but it's also true that, and it's said here again, that having great spiritual strength or a strong spirit is more important, because the body doesn't last. Bodies we have are not eternal, but the spirit is. The spirit is immortal. The body is not. So, being strong spiritually is what's gonna matter when our time finally comes, when our bodies finally give out. And that reminds me also of a line from one of my favorite movies, Gladiator, that Russell Crowe plays the character Maximus says. It says, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." Now, I believe that is true. And I believe it is important for me as a man, and for men in general, to be aware of that. That, yes, physical strength is valuable, but spiritual strength is infinitely more valuable. And I struggle with this notion in different ways myself, so as not to come off as hypocritical. Again, why am I talking about this? Why am I so passionate about this? Because I'm a Bible believing Christian. I'm imperfect. I don't always practice what I preach, and society is altogether not in favor of the biblical lifestyle and the biblical ideal for manhood. Now, my hope and my prayer here is for any guys watching this, that be encouraged and know that, you know, it is okay. In fact, it is, I believe, expected by God, not by the world, to be emotional, to be, you know, to be loving, to be sensitive, to be spiritually strong, not rely on building yourself up physically or showing as little emotion as possible because you might be seen as weak if you did. Or even maybe being afraid of openly expressing your love for your spouse and expressing a desire to be protective of your spouse, when today's attitude towards manly protection for their wife and for their family is almost seen as backwards. Which is a real shame. Now, anyway, again, in short, as I go, I'm gonna just sum it all up. It's gonna sum it all up for you here. That you can, as men, we can miss the mark by giving into this worldly ideal of manhood, society's idea of manhood, and indeed believing the lies that, the whole believing, that society versus men, that society is right and the biblical man is wrong. It really is not so. It's not right. Now it's and thank you all thank you all those who are watching, my videos here, and for mine and McKenna's blog, our family blog. Thank you all for watching and reading our stories. I will be back to you all with another video in my Hitting the Mark series very soon.